All right. What in the world? Hang on a second there, guys. Let's see here. Doesn't want to use. Can you guys hear me? Rick, are you still there? Can you hear me? Rod? Well, Bulldog, can you hear me? I'm going to guess that's yes. I am. Okay. Trying to mess with the, hang on just a second. Messing with the video. Trying, let's see here. I'm working on it here. Okay, switch. Okay. I don't get this. It won't let me use my better camera. Is that picture okay? I look a little washed out in that. Well, we're going to go with that. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Hopefully you can hear me okay. All right. My goodness. All right. We're going to call that good. All right. Hope this is okay with everybody. It's a little bit grainier than I would have hoped. I'm not sure why I can't get my other camera up and working. It's plugged in. But we will go ahead and start. This is my haul video from Pryor Comicon in Pryor Creek, Oklahoma, a couple of weekends ago. Just wanted to do a couple of books, do a stack of books here. The reason why I do this, I like a lot, as far as I'm concerned, it's all about the views. What I do, I don't get a lot of views, and I am glad that you guys have shown up on the live stream. I appreciate that. Sleepy Reader, how you doing, man? But I do the live stream, and then I'll cut into a lot of shorts. If you guys aren't using shorts, and I think all of you probably are, but it's just shorts tend to get your channel a lot more views. And I'm slow. I'm an old guy. I'm slow in learning that, but I finally caught on. I'm going to go through a stack of books here and just kind of show you some stuff that I picked up while at the con in Pryor, Oklahoma. And so a lot of these are, as a lot of us do, we as we get older in our collecting, we go through, we try to reacquire some of the books of our younger reading life, our childhood, if you will, or our teenage years. This is one of those books for me. It's Avengers number 200. Okay. Great. It was still Roger Stern. It's George Perez art. And that's the thing. This is one of those Perez covers that I always loved. And I remember buying this one right off the rack. And it was just it was a fun book, a fun run. Now I can't remember if it was Roger Stern who was doing the writing, but we'll find out here very quickly. Let's see. Jim Shooter was actually writing on this one. All right, so there's the book. Nice, really nice square bound spine there. I like when those square bounds are in such nice shape and looking good. One of the things I learned the hard way on these square bounds. Now, some of these square bounds is strange. Some of them have staples in them, but they still, when I first started out pressing, and you all probably already know where this is going as soon as I say that. When I first started out pressing, I made the mistake of pressing a square bound spine book, a book with a square bound spine, and it totally undoes, melts the glue. Sleepy Reader, you need to try shorts. Try doing some shorts. You'll be surprised at how many views you get on those. But do not, well, you try shorts, do not try pressing square bound covers, okay? Because the glue will totally come undone. All right. Learn the hard way. Okay. Let's see. Let's go do some specialties here before I go into any more books. I wanted to cover these. I just covered a couple of Hulk stories, or did a couple of Hulk videos last couple of days. The latest one was a what if story, and it was fit into my graphic storytelling niche there. Just some stuff you would be surprised to see back in the day under the Comics Code Authority brand. But this was a different one. I had never heard of the Omega Hulk. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the Omega Hulk. This would have been back in the early, I guess it would have been 2000 teens, I guess. Yeah, right. The square bound is held together largely by glue. Do not press it. But yeah, this would have been back in 2014, 2015, 2016. I'd never heard of the Omega Hulk. I found these books for $5 a piece at the con, and the creative team on Omega Hulk was Dugan. Jerry Dugan and Mark Bagley. Now, I'm a big fan of Mark Bagley ever since his Amazing Spider-Man days, and that was back in back in the early 90s, but early to mid anyway. And so loved his Amazing Spider-Man work, but he's done a ton of stuff back then. Loved his Thunderbolts work, but this is his. Now this is a Alex Ross cover, but this is the first volume of Hulk, and it was just Hulk, but it was the Omega Hulk book 1. Okay, and the Omega Hulk was a creation of Jerry Dugan and Mark Bagley, and he called himself. He didn't actually call himself Omega Hulk in the book. He called himself Doc Green, Dr. Green. Okay, let me get a good representation. Well, here it is. A second volume is a good representation of him. Here, with he and Ross's Red Hulk both spitting blood, but had the kind of the mohawk and the goatee there, and he was just a different iteration of the Hulk. I think it needed some more time to flesh out the idea. I think Dugan needed more time on it, but basically what it came down to was he was neither, as far as Doc Green was concerned, he was neither the Hulk nor was he Bruce Banner. And it was yet another iteration of the personality schism going on there. But it was a great run. I enjoyed these two immensely. Like I say, I think you can get them cheap, fairly affordably on eBay and in back issue bins and that kind of thing. So they're not going to run you an arm. They're not going to cost you an arm and a leg these days, especially if you can find them at like Ollie's or something like that. Okay. Now this next one was a kind of a special deal between me and a friend in Tulsa named Johnny Johnson. Johnny Johnson is a comic book artist and based there in Tulsa. And he did I liked the Deadpool Batman crossover. I'm always going to be a sucker for Marvel DC crossovers, always. And they've got to be. I'll just be honest with you. Although I don't buy many new comics anymore, they've got to be pretty bad. The Marvel DC crossovers have to be pretty bad for me not to buy them. All right, I'm just going to be honest. Say it the way it is. But what I did actually buy a sketch cover, which I never do, and I had Johnny do this, and planned to do this so I could. He basically handed it off to me at the con because he sets up at the con every year, and it's Deadpool Batman, a one of a kind. Let me take it out of there. A one of a kind for me, Deadpool Batman, obviously mimicking the first appearance of Robin there. I love that. Batman's very annoyed look on his face there. And the only thing I was hoping, and I mentioned it to him, but I didn't think to remind him about, I was hoping for Batman introduces the Merc with a mouth, but that's cool. I may have him put that up after the fact. Okay. But anyway, I was really happy with how that turned out on the red cover. And so thank you, Johnny Johnson. And appreciate that. All right. Okay. Some of these, I'll be real honest. These next few, I got the last few minutes of the con as dealers. And I was a dealer myself. I'd set up a table. I don't think of myself as a dealer, but I was for the purpose of the con. I was dealing comics. I'm a collector. I make some money at the con. pay for my table first, and then basically what I do is I spend most of the money I make. So because I'm not having to pay any bills on it. So I did get this Amazing Spider-Man, which I know is a key of some sort. You get to a point where you just can't hold all the information you used to know. I've not quite gotten to the point. I'm not going to say, you say about some people, they've forgotten more about this than I will ever know. I don't think I'm to that point yet, but I have forgotten a lot that I used to know. But this great Charles Vest cover on Amazing Spider-Man number 261, they were letting some comics go at some really good prices. And so I just took advantage of it. I knew the covers. I knew the covers. I didn't know the significance of the book anymore. But anytime I can get this era of Spider-Man and back, I get it for a decent price. Also, you all know I like the shiny covers. I got the foil reprint of Amazing Spider-Man number 129, first Punisher. And I love those. I don't just jump at any foil reprint book, but if it is a key issue that I can't afford the actual key, I'll get it. Okay. This one I was really happy to get in this condition for a really good price. This is a first appearance. It's a key book. This is a character that I think was brought back during the Immortal Hulk run, but I don't remember if it was Betty Ross or not, because Betty has also been the Red She-Hulk. But this is the first appearance and origin of the Harpy, Incredible Hulk number 168. And so I was really glad to pick that up. I like getting those Bronze Age and Silver Age first appearances, and I actually got a Golden Age number 1 on this con. Well, I'll settle it. I mean, I'll show it, one of my last books. Shiny objects work on old collectors. Yeah. I'm kind of like a hamster in that, or a squirrel, in that sense. The DC and Marvel facsimiles are coming out weekly nowadays. I grab some of them. I don't grab all of them. But yeah, I love this Herb Trimp cover on this Hulk 168. And I always liked the character of the Harpy. And so anyway, great stuff there. I have a copy of 168, but it is a beater copy. It is a grandfather beater copy. All right. A few Monsters on the Prowl, issue number 30. And these I got for a pittance. You know how it is. The last few minutes of a con, last 30 minutes or so of a con, people start slashing prices. Okay. Number 29, Monsters on the Prowl. Okay. Number 28, Monsters on the Prowl. I just like these old Bronze Age Marvel monster books. Obviously, mostly reprints, but some new stuff in there. All right. Let's see, some more Avengers. A few more Avengers going backwards. Some filling some holes in my Bronze Age Avengers run. Number 171. Again, great George Perez work there. Okay. 167. Trying to. Okay. All right. And then 166. I believe this was a John Byrne issue. Let's see. It may have been Perez, but I think this fell into the John Byrne. Yes, this is a John Byrne issue. Let me just go ahead and pull up some cool John Byrne panel work there. Yeah. So yeah, needed that one in my run. And then Giant Size Man Thing, number 4. Again, such great prices on these. Made great deals. And I've done it myself. If you've ever set up at a con and you've got books, you're a week before, when you're preparing and pricing your books, you're in a different mindset than 30 minutes before the end of the con. And you don't want to take all this stuff home if you don't have to. So you start making great deals. And that's what most Most dealers do that. All right. Marvel Team Up number 55. Actually, the first appearance of one of the Infinity Stones and the first appearance of the Gardener. Okay, so that for a great price. And these are the books. This is another John Byrne book, of course. This are the books. Chris Claremont and John Byrne did these Marvel Team Ups. They also did the Iron Fist series that I just got finished doing a retrospective series on. Of course, these were also books from my childhood. Man, these were the books that made comics, the world of comics, just come alive for me. And I can't help it. It was mostly Marvel stuff. And speaking of stuff that made, my, made comics come alive, the book and record sets. I got another one of those. I guess they were the Power book and record sets. This was one that figured largely in my life. This one actually had, I believe, original art and story for this book. So I can't tell you, haven't done the homework on who did this, did the artwork and did the writing and art for this book. But there were many in this Power series, DC, Marvel, and also Star Trek stories, which I assume were the Star Trek stories reprinted from Charlton Comics, but I don't know. They may not have been. They may have been done specially for this, because I know a couple of them had Neil Adams covers. I want to go back and start getting those Power records and books again, even if it's just the books. I don't care about the record. I'll never play this, even though we have a turntable. But this is The Amazing Spider-Man. This is the story with Invasion of the Dragon Men. This is Draco. I had this growing up as a kid. I mean, as early, I think, as probably, let's look at the original date, if I can find it. Probably can't, but I know I had it as early as 10 years old, maybe 9 years old. But some of you guys probably remember these. This thing, I have it memorized to this day. And so I just wanted this in my collection again. They had others that I didn't have as a kid. I didn't want them if I didn't have them as a kid. I just wanted the ones that I had as a kid, and they had great prices on them. I got this for $10. And he said the record plays and everything. So great stuff. And let me show you some of the insides, because some of you might be better at this than I am, naming artists and stuff. I can name some artists, but take a look at this. And if you can, tell me who you think did the art, and then maybe go online and check yourself. Let me show you Spidey in here, and you can decide. And it may be one of those things where they robbed a bunch of poses and stuff and pasted a story together. I don't know. Here's some Spidey in there. Okay. And some of you may have never seen this. I don't know. But there's the first page is a really good one. So who do you think drew that? Because I honestly, looking at it, I have no idea who drew this. I'm just glad to have it again. All right. Okay. Let's see. Some more Marvel. Strange Tales featuring the Golem, Strange Tales number 176. Okay. I love these Golem stories. I love the Bronze Age Marvel horror books. All right, those Golem stories, of course, those were new stories. Marvel Team Up number 35. Human Torch and Doctor Strange. Great stuff. Okay. Another Amazing Spider-Man, McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man from the 80s, from the late 80s. I just should have kept, I wonder if any of you can relate to this theme. I should have just kept the comics I had my whole collecting life. But I'm going back and recovering a lot of them. Amazing Spider-Man number 303 with that great Sandman cover. With the big hammer hand and the big grabbing hand going after Spidey with Silver Sable there in the background. All right. Another great classic Spider-Man cover. Spider-Man number 140. This is one of those covers I call This One Has It All cover. This one Has It All cover. It looked like book and record looked like Buckler. It may have been Rich Buckler. Oh, you looked it up? Okay, cool. Yeah, recollecting is a big thing. Sleepy. I'm spending most of my collecting life now recollecting. Okay, here's 140. This one has it all covered. Where you got all those looks at what happens inside the book, inside the story. And so I love those too. But again, one I had as a kid. Now, there will be more Marvel in here in a moment, but I'll explain that when I get to it. I found this trade that for some reason I'd never seen this trade. I've got the 2 issues of this story, but I never tried to press them, but the backing has come unglued. The spine has come unglued, and I hate that. I've kept them. I've never wanted to sell them or get rid of them, but I found the actual trade for Future Imperfect for like $3. So I thought that's a good one to be on my shelf. Okay. Love that story. One of my all-time favorite Hulk stories. And there's a lot of good Hulk stories out there. If you consider that they followed the same Hulk formula for so long in the Silver and Bronze Age, that since then there have been a lot of good Hulk stories. And this is one of them. Okay. George Perez doing the art. I don't remember who did the story. Can anybody tell me who did the story before I get it open? Oh, test those old comic collector brains. Peter David. All right, I beat you. Peter David. Yeah, beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful books, though, that George Perez ever did. Just gorgeous, very detailed work. All right. Okay, as you know, I am a big John Byrne fan, as I've already alluded to with an Avengers book, but did find a Marvel Age that I didn't have in my collection. Again, had it back in the day, but found it for a pittance at Marvel Age number 30 with that great Doctor Doom cover where he's about to release the ants into the Marvel picnic there. He's about to ruin everybody's fun. And gotta love it. So love that Byrne. One of the greatest Doc Doom covers without Doc Doom ever showing his face. Kind of like the Fantastic Four issue where Doc Doom is ripping the cover. And all you see is his gauntlet covered hand. All right. Some EC reprints. And I haven't checked let me check the reprint dates on these. These are like some of the earlier EC reprints because they were just $1. Some of them were $1 to $1.50. And so I'm going to go ahead and check the reprint date. Okay, so see, this was 1973, a 1973 reprint. So Crypt of Terror, number 1. Crypt of Terror, number 1. And of course, most EC books, I've got 1 or 2 original ones, but most EC books are out of my reach. And so, you know, the reprints are the best I can do, but 1973 reprint. Excuse me. And then I'm going to assume that the rest of them are 73 or just a little bit older. Reprint of Crime Suspense Stories number 25. Okay. Frontline Combat number 1. Okay, Frontline Combat reprint. This one was, okay, I got to know. I got to satisfy my curiosity. This one was $2. I thought all of them were $1 to $1.25 or $1.50, something like that. Let's see what this says. Yeah, this was quite a bit. Yeah, this is 1995. Okay, that's all right. That's okay. Some good stuff came out in the 90s. It was reprint. Okay. Lots of good stuff came out in the 90s, actually. The 90s get a bad rap. Why do you think? I think it's because of all the gimmickry and the fact that they started kind of putting artists above writers. It became more art-centric, the 90s. So the 90s was gimmick-laden and, plus, of course, people treating comics like stocks, okay? And that was just, the 90s. A lot of things were done wrong in the 90s, but a lot of good material still came out in the 90s. I'll tell you what, while we're thinking about it, while we're talking about it, speculation. Exactly, Bulldog. Speculation and the death of Superman is a great example, or a terrible example, however you look at it. But people buying multiple copies of the death of Superman, and it was mostly people outside of the hobby, of course, thinking, "Oh, Superman's dead. This is a collector's item." While every one of the fans who'd been doing it for a year or more knew, well, Superman's coming back. He's not going to stay dead. All right. And but I think one of the better series, and you can think about this. Yeah, I'm going to get rich. Yeah, exactly. What's up, Jackson? Good to see you. Hey, what do you think? As we're going through your name, one of your favorite 90s titles. One of your favorite things to come out of the 90s. For me, it was DC's Starman, the second generation Starman, Jack. All of a sudden I forgot his last name, but antique dealer, all this guy he thought all of his dad's long underwear stuff and with his long underwear friends and all his was silly. And but then he ends up getting the Cosmic Rod, and I loved his long staff version of it. Loved that book. At least the first 25 issues of that book was great stuff. So that was a great book to come out in the 90s. All right. Okay, another EC reprint. All right. This one doesn't have that's interesting. This one does not have a price on the cover. It is a 1973 reprint with a Feldstein cover, okay, on the front. But it's Shock Suspense Stories number 12. That is an infamous or famous EC cover. The drug cover. And I'll take that in reprint because I could never, ever, ever afford the original. Terror Incorporated and Deathlock. Yeah. I have a friend in Nashville who's getting ready actually to move back to Tulsa. He loves Terror Incorporated. He was always telling me to read it. I still have the first 3 or 4 issues I've never read. I need to read those because he raved about it. All right. So great stuff. Yeah, the 90s, a lot of good stuff came out in the 90s. Deathlock, I heard that about Deathlock too, but I was never a fan of Deathlock. And I've read the first Deathlock issues years ago. And I just, everything's not for everybody. We know that. That's why they make chocolate and vanilla, as they say. But lots of people love Deathlock. All right. This is a 1975 reprint of Shock Suspense Stories number 2. All right. A lot of good Valiant in the 90s. Archer and Armstrong. Yeah, I've still got Archer and Armstrong 0 through 6, I think. I liked those stories. They were fun. All right. They were a lot of fun. Okay. So good stuff there. All right. So I like the EC reprints, and the further back, the older reprints I can get, the better. Okay. Okay. Now I told you there was more Marvel to be had here, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it last though, but did get a couple of magazine size. One is a magazine. One's a Marvel graphic novel. Go ahead and take it out. This was one of those graphic novels, I believe from the 80s. I'm going to check it to make sure. But I had never read before. Let me see what the publication date on this is. No, 1991. Okay, so I missed it. But it was about the time that, the Wolverine the first Wolverine series, volume 1, was going on. This is Wolverine Bloody Choices. And I remember when I picked this up, and the lady had a great price on it. When I picked this up, though, and by the way, 1991 book, and I got it for less than cover price. But when I picked it up, a guy next to me, he said, "That's a great choice." He said, "I just recently read that myself, and it was a great book." Okay. You've recently rediscovered the Ultraverse line from Malibu. Okay. I enjoyed Prime. That was the one title I enjoyed from the Malibu universe. I liked Prime. Okay. Yeah, they did have some high points. I read every one of their, well, let's see. I might be thinking of Ultraverse, post Marvel's purchase of the company because I was thinking about the crossovers. Was Prime when you consider Prime part of Malibu, or you go on the pre-Ultraverse heroes? Anyway, this is a John Buscema art, Tom DeFalco writing, John Buscema art. This is a book that pits Wolverine against Nick Fury, and I won't get into the details of the story because I haven't read it yet. I just know what the back cover says, but the art is fantastic. Inside is just straight John Buscema, great John Buscema art. Okay, and what's really eye-catching though, the cover. If you look closely, you see Wolverine's bloody claws, but what's hanging from them is Nick Fury's eye patch, which is just kind of chilling if you think about it. So, yeah, Buscema. Yeah, Ultraverse. Okay, I thought that was maybe what you were talking about. Yeah, I liked Prime. Prime was just different enough and weird enough to really be entertaining. And so I know I read the first dozen or so issues of Prime and enjoyed it. All right. So I was glad to have that graphic novel. You get issue 2. I have issue 1 of this particular book. This is a Curtis magazine. This is Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction number 2. Love that cover, and it's beautifully rendered and beautifully preserved. Who did that? Mike Kaluta. Great Kaluta cover. Okay. Very high quality and nice spine on there. I love these magazines, and I know for some people, they happen to get the magazine size bags and boards and magazine boxes. None of that stuff bugs me a bit. I have enough that I actually have 3 full magazine boxes back there. Now, all my magazines are not in bags and boards as they should be, but yeah, white covers are hard to find in nice condition, and this one I'm really happy with it. I love the black and white mags from the 70s. Great stuff, lots of fun on those. And you got some art in here. Let's see. The first story is George Perez and Rico Rival. So there's some of that. And some of these artists, the black and white art, when black and white art is made to be black and white, it's better than when color art is, I can't say colorized, decolorized. Some of the collections, the black and white collections Marvel did years ago, like collections of the Rampaging Hulk, the later issues, when they were done in color, and then they made them black and white again, doesn't work. Some things are too dark to tell what's going on, and it just doesn't work at all. Let's see. So we got some George Perez in there. What else we got in here? We got a glass. Here's one. Frank Robbins and Jim Mooney. I'm not normally a big Frank Robbins fan, though I did like Jim Mooney. Yeah, one of Perez's first works for Marvel. I did not know that, but that's nice to know that I've got that. But there's a really nice opening page. Frank Robbins and Jim Mooney on this book, Adam and No Eve. Okay. On this story, I should say. Let's see what else we got here. Story and art by Bruce Jones, Specimen. Okay. Kind of a EC sci-fi throwback. Okay. Got an EC vibe right off the first page there. Let's see what else we got here. Got another story, The Day of the Triffids, art by Rico Rival. Let's see. So very cool stuff. I love the sci-fi work of that era, and there's just always lots of good stuff in these magazines. Very rarely were the magazines just total stinkers. You might have one story in there that was like, that was okay, but in general, I always enjoy those magazines. Did that guy look like Sleepy Reader? I always enjoy these magazines cover to cover. All right, here's my Golden Age acquisition. One that was not even on my radar, wasn't looking to get it. got it for a great price. I'm not a big, I don't have big books like a lot of guys on YouTube do. But I like the stuff I can get. This is, I looked it up before. I want to say 1953. Someone look it up for me because it was one of those rare books that did not have a date in the indicia or however you pronounce it. At the bottom of the cover, front cover, it doesn't have a date. But this is Strange Planets #1 by IW Enterprises. And I'm going to tell you some of the artists that worked on this book. Got a little chip out down here. I hate that because that actually happened on my watch. It was ready to let go. And when I took it out of the plastic bag, my wife, who actually, and that's the neat thing, my wife worked her first con with me, and she enjoyed it. She had a good time. But, whenever I took it out of the bag, she says, is that a little tiny piece of the cover in the bottom of the bag? And I was like, no. I said, yes, it is. But anyway, it didn't matter because I got this for a nice price and love that cover. Glossy still after a long time. Okay. And I want to say, I know it's a 50s book, 10-cent cover price. It's #1. So I said, hey, I came back with a golden age #1, but it opens with a Wally Wood story. Okay. Wally Wood story called Clean Start. All right. Let's see. When I do these, I always think of Night Tiger, Michael Smith. He makes notes about his books. And he puts them in little notes on the back and inside the bag on the opposite side of the board, so he can tell you exactly. But I know what he does. This is actually a Kriegstein. Got a what is his first name? Can't remember, but got a Kriegstein story after the Wood story called Marbles. Okay. This book, for a book that I'd never heard of before, I was really happy with the list of creators. And at the third story was a Joe Orlando, Conditioned Reflex, 1958. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jackson. Appreciate that. Conditioned Reflex, a Joe Orlando story there. Okay. So they had this, they had some good artists on the book. Excuse me, my goodness. Jack Davis. Next story, Barrier. Okay. Let's find something besides rocket ships. There we go. Some Jack Davis work going on there. Let's see. I think that might be the last story. Yes, that's the last story. So, really happy with that purchase. And love that. Anybody want to take a guess? I'll look it up, or maybe you can, but who do you think did that cover? Are they EC reprints? Thank you. Okay. I thought they had someone had very EC vibes. Okay. My question then would be, how did this publisher get the rights to reprint them? I don't know who would have been, would have owned the rights at the time. But again, it was IW Enterprises Incorporated. IW Enterprises. Beautiful, beautiful cover, though. Who do you think reprinted, or who do you think did that cover? Some are from EC's Incredible Science Fiction #30. Okay, thank you. Great. I wonder if is this cover reprinted from another book, or was it done, do you suppose, for this book? Good stuff. All right. I always count on viewers to do the hard work. I don't come on here prepared. I just come on here. I just want to show my funny books. All right. Okay. Lastly, this is the, I grabbed, a guy was doing blind bags there. These were significant, substantial blind bags. That's how thick, about the thickness of a omnibus. Okay. And it was Marvel blind bag, $5. Now, for the record, I always say, you know, I assume Gaines, publisher of Mad, would have had the rights. Maybe so. I'll have to do some research on that IM Enterprises or IAW Enterprise, whichever one it was. But at the show, this guy had, at the con, this guy had a bunch of blind bags. He had Marvel blind bags. He had DC blind bags. He had independent blind bags. Now, I always joke about, you know, you got Marvel fans and you got DC fans. And I always, my little joke is to tease DC fans is that, well, obviously the more sophisticated readers, they read Marvel, you know, just kidding. Okay. I'm kidding. I don't consider myself more sophisticated than anybody, just for the record. But I will say IW Publications was notable for publishing unauthorized reprints of other publishers' properties. Usually these companies were already out of business. I bet you I have other books by IW Enterprises. They published stuff from the Phantom, and they made the Phantom look totally different. And now I'm placing this company now. Thank you for doing that work. All right. William Gaines, well, if the internet says it, you know, Abraham Lincoln said, if you read it on the internet, it's got to be correct. All right. William Gaines' agent owns all those EC rights. Okay. Yeah. Metarog talks about everything. Metarog has probably forgotten more about comics than I ever knew. But anyway, okay, so grab bag. So I will say, I'll go back to what I was saying. I always joke about, you know, more readers for Marvel than for DC, which I don't believe is true. But I did go back before we were wrapping up, and I looked for any more Marvel blind bags. He said, nope, they were the first ones to go. He said, I have some DC left and some Indies left, but the Marvel blind bags were the first to go. Now, I asked him, I said, now, before I buy one of these, what claims do you make about your $5 blind bags? He says, I make no claims except that you'll get more than what you pay for. And so I thought, okay, that's fair. So here we go. And I've waited, you know, more than a week to open this blind bag up because I wanted to do it on the live stream. Okay. And all right. I feel like I should have played some music. Maybe IW put new covers on them, hoping Gaines wouldn't notice. Yeah, I mean, back then, I could believe, you know, the publishing business, as many of you know, if not all of you, was not a squeaky clean business. All right, it was full of some cads. Okay, so here we go. What's in this blind bag? I'm gonna have to get out my trusty. These are legal, by the way, in Oklahoma. It's actually my uncle gave me this. He called it his stiletto, and it's not a cheap knife. So when he asked me if I wanted it, I said, "Is the Pope Catholic?" So okay, got this open and didn't slit a book. That's always a good thing. All right. So here we go. What do we got in this Marvel grab bag so far? Okay. First off, we got the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Spider-Man 2005. Cool. Okay. And it's got, you know, it's basically what a Marvel handbook, what you would expect. You got listing information on Spider-Man characters and villains and allies and cads. I'm not talking about Sleepy Reader. I'm not talking about anybody watching this live stream. No, these live streams only draw the most high class comic book readers. Okay, so anyway, you get the idea. All right, Avengers Now handbook number 1, part of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. Okay, stuff I've never seen, stuff I've never had. Okay, more of the same, even you know, less detailed, but covering more characters. Okay, all right. Another handbook Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe. Alternate Universes, 2005. Okay. That can be handy. I mean, it's getting to where, Sleepy, don't ask your wife. She might actually say, yes, you are a cad. I don't know. I'm not going to ask my wife if I'm a cad. It's getting to where Marvel has so many universes. They're kind of like Bronze Age DC, or so before the crisis. So yeah, it might be a handbook for Marvel universes, alternate universes. That could be handy. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy number 9. I have no idea which volume. Okay, most of these I knew. There's it's fun. Yeah, tease a lot. I wasn't taking you seriously, Jackson. Lost my train of thought. A lot of these I figured would end up back in my dollar bins for shows, but I'll read them, and it's fun. A grab bag is fun. Okay, I actually have a number 1 in here. Mutant First Strike, number 1. Don't know anything about it. Don't know the year of publication, anything, but there you go. Decent looking black cover. Okay. Let's see who. Nothing really special about the art. All right. New Mutants Lethal Legion, number 4. I buy so few new comics and have bought so few new comics for the last couple of decades that a lot of this stuff is just beyond me. Okay, here's a cool Godzilla variant, though, for Phoenix number 3, variant edition, with Godzilla facing down the Phoenix. This one has a crease line in it there. That's okay. That's okay. That one Godzilla's probably not in it. I'm not guessing he's in it. I'm guessing it's just a Godzilla cover because it's a variant. Yep, I don't see any Godzilla. All right. That would have actually been cool. The Future of the Marvel Universe revealed, Timeless, issue number 1. Okay. Greg Land doing the art. I'll read that one. Just get a peek at that Greg Land art in there. Look at that. Boy, ain't that pretty. Gotta love some Greg Land art. All right. Hey, this isn't a Marvel book. I'm going to take this back. No, I'm not. Free Comic Book Day, Critical Role, The Mighty Nine Origins. No idea. And 9 is spelled like the German no, not like the number 9. So the Mighty No. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 1. Hey, at least you put number 1s in here. 10th anniversary special. Okay. Well, I'll give it a read. I'll at least give it a look. But I'll probably give it a read. It better not be. This has the look of a. I guess they're all falling. Okay. I thought it had the look of a Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur destroys the Marvel Universe kind of thing. And then I wasn't going to read it. Oh, I don't know about this art. What do you think about that art? What say you? Looks like a Saturday morning cartoon. Which is sometimes okay. But I don't know. I never read a single issue of Moon Girl, so maybe that's the way they treated the whole series. Don't know. I liked the first volume of Devil Dinosaur, the Jack Kirby stuff. Here's an X-Men Annual 2000 with an Arthur Adams cover. I will definitely read that. That falls within the 2000, still falls within the era where Marvel is still doing a lot of decent work, decent books. Okay. So I do wonder, though, what's Lady Deathstrike doing? It looks like she's leading the X-Men. What? Say what now? I'll read it, find out what's up with that mess. Here is Excalibur, Volume 1, Number 7, an Inferno book. Again, this is all from a $5 Marvel grab bag. Moon Girl was definitely a kid's book. My daughter loved it, ages 8 to 11. Okay, good to know. Like I said, it just wasn't even on my radar, so I didn't know about it. New Mutants number 67 from, of course, volume 1. This was past. I will read it then. If it was a well-done kids book, I'll take a look at it. I'll read it because I like kids books. I always have. Kids comics. The New Mutants, this was past the time that I read the New Mutants, but I did stick with the New Mutants for like the first, through the Demon Bear saga anyway. Okay. So anyway, I'll probably read that. Ooh, another beautiful Art Adams cover on New Mutants number 38. Don't know who did the innards, but it's a great cover. I remember that cover. So at one time or another, I probably read that book. Read that issue, 1985. I definitely read that issue. Okay. So, okay. X Factor number 4, another great book. I love the first, even though X Factor, the book came about by kind of a hokey, John Byrne Fantastic Four story where they found, you remember the story of finding the actual Jean Grey in a pod in the bottom of, what was it? New York Harbor or somewhere, wherever the ship crashed in the X-Men story of first appearance of the Phoenix. So anyway, I liked X Factor though. Dubious beginnings, but I liked the old team back together, and I liked the stories. X of Swords creation, no idea. X of Swords, and it's part 1 of 22 parts. Thank you, no, but I mean, it's a comic book and I have it, so I'll probably read it. Can't find who did the art. It's obviously an apocalypse story. Interesting enough looking art, I suppose, but I just don't have it in me to start a part 1 of 22. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, well, at least there's a, good. Part 1 of 22. Here's part 11 of 22. X of Swords. Okay. And part 22 of 22. Okay. So I can read parts 1, 21, and 22. Surely that'd be enough. I won't need to read 2 through 20. I'll get the gist of the story. Oh, well, I've got the handbook too, the X of Swords handbook. Okay. Oh, finally. I don't want to say finally something good, but finally something good. I have this one, but I love it. Another Marvel Age. This is Marvel Age annual number 1 from 1985. I'm trying to see who did this. Carrie Gamble. Carrie Gamble did the art, inked by Tom Morgan, which you can't beat that. So here's the front and back cover there. Very nice looking Carrie Gamble assemblage of the Marvel universe there, circa 1985. Some missing, of course, but they're the ones that were primarily being read back then. All right, cool stuff. And what it was kind of, how those annuals went. They kind of were introducing new titles or new stories that were going to be coming out that year. All right. So different various, got some John Byrne art in here. You got some Mike Mignola on Alpha Flight, and John Byrne on Fantastic Four. You got some Mark Bright on Iron Man. No, it's Mark Bright on West Coast Avengers. So there you go. Got some Power Pack. Got some John Byrne Hulk. Wow, cool. Okay, so cool. Love those. Everything. There was nothing wrong with Marvel Age. Always loved Marvel Age. All right. So, hey, series grand finale. Marvel's Star Wars series, number 50. I've got a nephew. I'll probably.
Marvel Comics has announced that 5 years of Star Wars storytelling will.
I didn't ask you, Siri. I did not ask Siri a question. All right, so there you go. Kind of a cool cover. I don't read Star Wars. Ready? I don't like Star Wars. I'm a Star Trek guy. And I've seen, obviously, I mean, the first trilogy, they were the original trilogy, also the original trilogy, because they're not technically the first trilogy. The original trilogy, I watched because they were during my childhood. So I watched them. Of course I watched them. They were good, but they did not, for me, inspire any kind of a craze. Okay. I was much more excited by the original Star Trek series and the Star Trek movies. All right. In fact, I'll even take Star Trek, The Next Generation, the series, over Star Wars movies. All right. Lastly, Avengers number 360, this bronze colored foil cover there with the vision coming at you there, alternate visions. Love those shiny objects. Who am I hypnotizing out there? Anyone being hypnotized? Another cool cover. That's right. All right. I'll take that away so as not to hurt anybody. All right. That's it. That was my Comic-Con, my Pryor Creek Comicon haul. My one shocking. My one con of the year that I set up at. Hoping to do more in the future, but I did find out there's a con in Missouri, in Carthage, Missouri, coming up in October, and it's hosted by either the Boys and Girls Club or Goodwill or something like that. One of those organizations, and it's only $25 per table. And so the guy that told me this, I was at Heroes and Wizards in near Joplin. All of a sudden, I forgot the name of the town, but anyway, near Joplin today. And he was telling me, yeah, it's only $25 a table. I was like, well, I have to go. I have to go set up. And so that'll be one in October that I'll set up at. Anyway, that's it. Great haul. Appreciate you guys showing up. Appreciate you showing interest. And I hope some of this was of interest to you. Thanks for helping me do my video with the important information about some of the books. Always count on the kindness of the comics community in YouTube. All right. Hey, guys, thanks. I really do appreciate it. You help make this fun. It's fun when people show up, and I do appreciate you very much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.